I will always recall that day with awe. In contrast to the usual and tranquil days to which I had grown accustomed, everything underwent a transformation. I abruptly awoke that morning as it is customary to prepare a cup of coffee and position myself in close proximity to the window to observe. At the age of 59, I maintained a sense of the external world. Due to my sprightly spirit, I declined to acknowledge the inevitable process of aging, had adhered to my self-care regimen, exercised consistently, and each time I gazed into the mirror, I made an effort to perceive as an individual who has persisted, lively and, however that void within me is alluring, continued to exist. Anthony, the name of the unfillable. Anthony was the delivery guy each time I received my package. I encountered him and underwent an unusual experience, a sensation of warmth that is accompanied by an mysterious attraction. He was 23 years old, possibly. It was his ebullient vitality that attracted me to him for the preceding. For months I had been ordering incessantly. Books, home decor, and other items can be purchased online. Occasionally superfluous items are used solely to listen to the doorbell chime and observe his. I repeatedly reminded myself of my presence. Nevertheless, these sentiments were inappropriate. Each time I encountered that, my heart would pound. That day, as I was entering, I noticed Anthony. Delivery of parcels in the vicinity of his riding. Passed me on his. The tire of his motorcycle was unexpectedly lost. He collapsed immediately as a result of the traction. I proclaimed my pulse in front of Anthony. My heart was racing as I threw away my knapsack and, sprinting toward him, his forearm and knee were severely scratched, and his visage was. Nevertheless, he contorted in agony, remained successful in showcasing his. Judith, I am in good health. Claimed that it was not a serious matter, however. His voice trembled slightly. Do not be absurd, and I assertively maintain that it does not. Please inform me that you are in good health. For the purpose of examining you, I assisted him in the process of guiding his bicycle onto the curb and offered assistance as we continued to my. Initially, he displayed his docile unwillingness despite my perseverance. Compelled him to. Upon his arrival, I directed him to. I retrieved the settee from my living room. I initiated the process by utilizing my first aid supplies. Treatment of his. My hands trembled as a result of the incisions, however I massaged to prevent them from becoming unstable. From my observations during my duties, Anthony observed his sprightly and lively appearance in near proximity. Nevertheless, his maturity was evident. I apologize for the unexpected expression. I apologize for the inconvenience, Judith, he observed. Although beaming is not a significant matter irritated me, and I sneered, making an effort to appear severe but ultimately failing. In an effort to conceal my smile, you maintain in. Do you anticipate that I will sustain an injury as a result of a fall? Allow yourself to be abandoned until you regain your composure. As I applied the bandages to Anthony, I observed that he had ceased to speak. His eyes were fixated on me, and the ambience between us became dense during this time. We applied the bandage to his limb. The hands momentarily made contact with the silence was intensified by an inadvertent encounter. Between us, Judith, he began tenderly. His demeanor. Unsure, I was not prepared for your. The majority of individuals are kind. I would prefer to deliver their items. Depart promptly, I observed him, and an internal transformation transpired within me. Anthony, you are not merely a deliverer man. The individual toward whom I observe your gaze, others, and your regard for them. I am inspired by your presence in a certain way. I have not had the opportunity to experience this in quite some time. I once admitted that my voice was trembling. slightly as my cheekbones flushed the words. Could not be retracted at this time, Anthony's. His eyes altered, and his demeanor demonstrated accompanied by a refreshed drive, irrefutably magnetic. He progressively drew closer to his quality. The eyes were fixated on me before the subsequent events. Assured that this narrative continues to escalate, please subscribe to my channel and activate it. Receive notifications to remain informed about subsequently developments. Your encouragement through comments and loves are indispensable to me. At that moment, Anthony's gaze intersected with mine, and the climate between us became charged. This was merely he remarked after a brief period of commencement pause, that his current residence is situated at a considerable distance from his. I find it difficult to commute to work on a daily basis. I have been considering the possibility of locating a more. Despite the costs, the location is close. Are excessively elevated. Upon his statement, a phenomenon, I was awoken within my bosom, and I recognized my capacity to provide him with assistance, and this concept ingrained in me an uncommon exhilaration. Anthony, I stated lightly, yet I firmly own a modest apartment that is adjacent to the residence has not yet been leased. If you wish, you may relocate for a it will facilitate a competitive price. Yours. Anthony regarded me with the following responsibilities. Indeed, Judith, there is no. It is imperative that you demonstrate this. He declared that his voice was imbued with compassion, accompanied by, however, I had already. From that instant on, I resolved my decision. Moving forward, I came to the realization that everything was prepared to transform. Indeed, that transpired on that particular day marked the first step towards interfering with my daily regimen. This narrative was solely an account of existence. Beginning at that juncture, the tension between us intensified as I attended to his injuries. I firmly grasped his arm, despite the fact that my palm remained on his epidermis for an extended period. My gaze briefly traveled across the duration. His powerful limbs and robust shoulders. I watched him scrutinize me as well. His eyes swept across my legs with great attention. Waist and the agitation was within me as it was in my shoulders. Intensified in spite of my endeavors to. I was becoming disoriented, so please disregard it. During that period, my palms trembled as I finally finished the bandaging while I bent over to retrieve Anthony was simultaneously bandaged after he lowered himself, resulting in our hands unintentionally establishing communication once more. We both evolved into immobilized the electricity from that. The silence was exacerbated by the brief encounter. As I progressively straightened between us, our gazes intersected once more, and an endeavor was made to interpret the emotion on his eyes and features were betrayed by uncertainty, however, also a magnetic allure that is unmistakable. Judith, he emphasized, his tone gentler than I had ever experienced. I am obliged to acknowledge that I did not anticipate the majority of individuals are kind. I would prefer to deliver their items. They would not make an effort to depart promptly. Made an endeavor for an individual like myself. I sincerely believe that I am unworthy of such focus. Hearing such comments prompted me to temporarily lose I ascertained his composure by observing him. A profound and mature quality in this. I endeavored to gather my thoughts as a young man. Causing a slight chuckle, Anthony, your relocation to the apartment at your residence. Discretion, I observed that it appears that your action had been anticipated for an extended period of time, thereby reducing the tension. Anthony appeared marginally further. Judith, I am truly astounded. I must take action. My landlord is making a concerted effort to expel me. Additionally, I am required to finish my. He expressed his tone somewhat in his dispatches. He hastily departed, but Rose remained behind. Before obtaining my number, I hesitated. Exiting at that instant, the relationship between us attained its zenith during this period. My hand was resting on his wounds as I attended to them. Our gaze and his flesh intersected on numerous occasions, each interaction lasting slightly longer. An electric and unmistakable affinity. The relationship between us was evolving, I acknowledged. That this was merely the beginning of I was unable to resolve the issue. I disregard those remarks upon hearing them. Momentarily misplaced I ascertained his composure by observing him. A profound depth and maturation in this. I endeavored to understand the young man who had taken me by surprise. To compose myself in a manner that induces a smile and, Anthony, you are emitting a gentle guffaw. Invited to migrate to the apartment adjacent to my residence at your residence. I had been looking forward to your visit for some time. I noted the alleviating effect of my arrival throughout the entire duration. The strain Anthony appeared marginally. Judith, I am truly astounded. I must take action. My landlord is making a concerted effort to evict me, and I still have to finish my. He articulated his tone in a more direct manner. He hastily departed, but Rose remained behind. Not prior to obtaining my number. The following morning, I observed Anthony arrived in a substantial truck, accompanied by two of his associates with whom they initiated transactions, relocating his possessions within the. As I stood outside my residence, he observed him transporting the huge object, boxes with his strong muscular arms. I was unable to divert my attention from the sensation. One that I had not experienced in a long time was reawakened within me. Each action he executed appeared over the course of years to captivate my. Please pay heed to his exuberant vitality and he was vivacious. Possessed it was. Captivating. I eventually regained my composure, was restored by the consumption of coffee, and I smiled as I approached them. I would assume that you are all exhausted. Would you like to extend an invitation to dinner? Let us gather and participate in a delightful brunch. Collectively, Anthony and his companions expressed their appreciation. But Anthony, said Judith, that is exceedingly kind. Yet my acquaintances must return theirs. The voyage back home is extensive. I felt a faint twinge of disappointment, regardless of its concealment. Efficiently, Anthony emerged as nightfall struck, unaccompanied. While observing him, while standing there, I encountered a combination of surprise and I greeted him with a smile filled with elation. What is the location of your acquaintances? He shrugged and extended an offer to me. They were impelled to smile slightly. They were unable to remain and departed. Nevertheless, he expressed his reluctance to leave her alone that evening. The utterance of those words elicited a cordial response. Sensation within me that persisted throughout the remainder of the evening will be spent at dinner, where our conversation intensified. At that moment, I witnessed that this was essentially the initiation of a new concept. In all honesty, I expressed my opinion with a faint smile. I gazed into the eyes of an anonymous individual, anticipated the reactions of all individuals' presence. However, if it is solely you, I suppose that there is no disadvantage in opening a bottle of wine. Wine is consistently enjoyed during dinner. Anthony returned the smile with his gaze fixed on mine. That appears to be optimal. Wine and culinary preparation. What additional requests could I make? His words sparked a modest flame. I made my way to the kitchen within myself, retrieved 2 bottles of red wine and a bottle of vino. glasses and transported them to the table. Upon the bottle's opening, I made an effort to ignore Anthony's gaze, which examined me as if he were endeavoring to interpret my. Nevertheless, I perceived his gaze, monitoring my every response during. Assisted by a moderate quantity of vino during dinner, our conversation became more frequent. I observed the intimate solitude while savoring my beverage. Times wine is virtually. It is intolerable and has the potential to cause frustration that I believe I possess. Dedicated the majority of my life to. I now acknowledge the importance of serving others. The duration of my tenure. Squandered. Anthony listened intently. His demeanor was compassionate and empathetic. Love loneliness is challenging at any time. Judith, whatever your age, your place of residence, culinary abilities and attire are all indicative of your diligence, and diligence are noteworthy. Preserved your attractiveness. Remarkable. It appears discriminatory that a person of your caliber must reside within solitude. Those words astounded me, generating a profound sense of warmth within me. I am unable to pinpoint the most recent instance in which an individual had addressed me in this manner. My heart beat faster as I observed the matter. Into his gaze, acknowledging this connection I had not previously encountered the process of cultivating. Encountered those statements over the years. Astonished and profoundly impacted me. No one had expressed any sentiment of that nature. In recent years, my heart has begun to beat faster. Understand the point I made. Tenderly, but at times, despite your contributions are made with the utmost effort. Unidentified. Anthony positioned his vino, leaning in toward the goblet on the table. Myself. Like what you heard. There's plenty more heartbreak and secrets to come. Hit like, subscribe, and stay curious with Tangled Truths.